Wow, it starts recording right away. Oh no. Let's see if I can get something here.
Se levantan todos los días, a las 2, 3 de la mañana. Insomnio. Insomnio. Candy? What's happening? You forgot her name. You didn't hear it more.
It's okay. I don't.
All righty. Let's get rid of this. Turn this on. Turn this off. Get myself a regular chair. Selling stocks and bonds. Some office on Wall Street. Sit up straight. Okay, so here we are, and we are back. Some of you are, some of you are just beginning, I guess. We have been exploring the depths of the Haggadah in a way that is looking to be sensitive to the stages that the Haggadah is taking us through along our way to Cherut. And just to kind of bring us up to date, first of all, it's helpful usually to have a Haggadah in front of you for the class. So I know we have. So that'll help you stay focused. Mhm. Who takes notes?
I take notes.
You've taken notes. So last time we talked about. I'm sorry.
I always keep my notes.
Does someone be able to
what's the
recall
box?
for me, was it about Lavan Harami? Did we talk about Lavan?
Yes.
Or do we talk about lying and
Yes. So follow the
manipulation as an enslavement? Did we explore that? Yeah. Mhm.
That was in
Is that
verse
correct?
I
four.
remember we were talking about like the better waters and Hashem and their consciousness and they
No,
were,
that was a whole different class, which had to do with
that was the last class.
that was Rosh Chodesh Iyar. Yeah, but I'm talking about in
Yeah.
this series. Do you
Uh,
remember we talking about Lavan and his deception of Yaakov? I'm sorry.
Yes, it's in his name.
but
Well, I'm wondering not what you know about it, but like what I talked about. If
I
you
don't remember. I don't remember.
you don't remember that,
Yeah.
okay. Okay. Um,
I remember.
you do remember?
this, but like maybe they don't remember, so go back.
Well, no, but I do want to be moving. Okay, so let's bring ourselves up to date. There's something else I want to open up and explore also in this context. So just to remind us, right, what we've been looking at in the last few sessions, right? We are looking at how the Haggadah divides itself into two discrete sections, right? The first one, in terms of telling the story of leaving Egypt, seems to be all about the story of leaving Egypt, right? And it begins with Avadim Ayinu Lepharaoh Mitzrayim, we were slaves to Pharaoh. But then it seemed to sort of like go off on a whole series of things which didn't seem to be so relevant about the rabbis in Bnei Brak and the students coming to stop them and right, and then this weird question at the end of all of this of like maybe we should be doing this on Rosh Chodesh, right? And we discovered that actually what that first part of that Haggadah is doing in telling the story is indeed it's telling us the story, but it's doing a lot more than that. It's actually opening us up to the impact of that story on our souls, in the sense that the Haggadah itself says if God hadn't taken us out, we never would have left that place, which is actually a kind of a you know a non sequitur, is a bit of a meaningless statement because history has its ways, empires rise and fall. I mean, it's hard to believe that we still would have been slaves in Egypt. Clearly, the indication there is that there needs to be something divine in the access of our being, which makes it possible for us to truly leave Mitzrayim. And if Hashem doesn't do that, we never leave. And with that insight, we really went into recognizing how much that kind of open, creative unfolding of our evolution, of our yearnings, of our accessing the vast vision, and more profoundly, the being which stands at the root of all, that we're actually in touching that, it being lifted out of the narrow straits of the Meitzari, right, of the narrow straits, Mitzrayim being the Meitzari, right? So this was I think a lot of the insight and a lot of what was very important to us about that first very primary level of what it means to become a Ben Chori. And we'll see why that's so important in a moment to have that. But like it's the unfolding, it's the becoming, it's the innovation, it's the discovery. All of those are very present in that first part of the Haggadah, right? To the point of, wow, maybe it should be on the day of initiation, on the day of firstness, Rosh Chodesh. Well, no, we have mitzvah, meaning as much as we are committed to and connected to the wholeness of the divine presence and that interaction with our lives, which comes by this unending discovery and unfolding and creativity. Nevertheless, there are particular paths which God has defined for us, mitzvah, as ways through which we can realize and actualize this unending and vast will that is, moving everything forward. There's mitzvah. And that was how the first section of the Haggadah ended, in which it said, no, it can't be on the first of the month. It's got to be when there's matzah and maror that are there in front of you. If you don't have an object, if you don't have something embodied, it's all just going to go all over the place, right? And dissipate and not really fulfill the purpose of Hashem's having released us from the narrow straits. It wasn't in order just to release us and let us forever expand, although that's definitely there. We like that also. But it was also had a purpose and are doing service to that unending life and light. And that's where the next piece of the Haggadah takes us, where it starts talking about how we used to be Ovdei Avodah Zarah. And you probably remember that class, right? Where we talked about like this really, and I think I'm going to say it a little bit differently than I said it last time. And it's another aspect of a similar thing. It's really important for us to recognize that whereas the divine presence is vast, infinite, and open in its, so to speak, essence, as much as we can talk about, God, it's really silly to try to describe this. But nevertheless, we do give some words, right? Nevertheless, right, as much as it's open as it's vast, it is not without a will. You see, there's a way you can go, right, which is the vast presence of being, the unending consciousness of Hashem's knowing as the ground of everything that is. Let's say, right, in a language that's often used in the more Eastern context, which we have a great deal actually to source in that for ourselves. But nevertheless, right, that's usually where that same type of thing is spoken. In relation with the world created, this unending, infinite being has particular and specific will, desires, so to speak, right? Values, things that Hashem sees as being the purpose of the particular creation that we're living. And he's had many creations before ours, the rabbis teach. He's had many worlds, many universes, right? The many worlds theory isn't a new idea. they talk about them existing concomitant now, but whatever time is anyhow, you know what? But he had many universes, and we're living in a particular universe. And this one actually, so far, is working. Okay, so it's like, and we actually have prophecies from Hashem that this one's going to work out. Like that there's going to be Mashiach, the world will be redeemed, history will come to its vindication, and Shalom al Yisrael. It's going to work out. But you should know there have been other alternatives, because there really are endless alternatives for how to perceive being, reality, etc., etc. But our minds have been defined a certain way, calibrated to see certain, say, band waves of the electromagnetic band, or however you want to call it. We're seeing something, and we're seeing something out there. We're seeing it in a very particular way, and we're good with that. We don't really expect to get to the ultimate, final, absolute, objective vision. God says you can't both live and be in that, because once you're living, you've become specific, okay? And therefore you can only see a very particular part of the picture. That's just the way it is, And let's make this a little more grounded, right? Like your life is a very particular expression of this vast being. And much of what we are really created for is to be in service of that, to really live in service of that. And here's this like falsity that's around. Oh, if I'm in service of something, that means I'm enslaved. And that is truly uh, a, complete misapprehension. You know, it's like look around modern Western culture on a certain level, like the less people are in service, the less they seem happy, the less actually they remain free, they become addicted. People are addicted. It's unbelievable. You go to the shopping center, you look at people with these things, you know, let alone drugs and sex and all kinds of ways people get addicted to something which just distracts them from their pain because at least it gives them a path. And not only that, gives them a sense of satisfaction because I have a need which has been fulfilled. And actually, your body, in terms of its hormones, is designed that way. You know, like
Amen.
that's satisfying. And it's satisfying, it gives me a little bit of pleasure for various reasons. Not just because, you know, my voice is failing me and I need a little liquid, and also because I was thirsty, but also, you know, I reached out, there it was, I accomplished what I set out to do. You know, you get a dopamine release every time you do that. It's a good thing in the morning when you get up to just set yourself a small goal, like pour out the water you just washed your hands into, or make your bed, or something. Just for God's sake, do something, right? But do something which you set as a goal and then you fulfill. You know, you realize you're designed actually to get a reward for that, right? It's an amazing, amazing, and very, very positive thing to notice about the nature of our biology that we're actually designed to be moving ahead and accomplishing. That's a really good thing, you know. That's a really, really good thing. But the downside of that is you can sort of hack the system where you just do things
Social media.
which give you like a very immediate kind of a pleasure. Social media is one access to that. Don't worry, baby, there are many. But like that is definitely one of them where there's a, you know, that immediacy of the satisfaction. Okay, this is very important. I know it seems like a little bit off course, but it's really important to recognize this. And people get addicted because they get that, you know, payment. Okay, so we'll say it's not a psychology class, but I do want us to recognize this for a very important reason. And that is this: as long as you're acting out of your needs, I need this, I gotta get that, I need that, then you'll always be getting these like little sort of piecemeal satisfactions, which will make you temporarily happy, right? For the course of that kind of satisfaction. But when you act from a different place, the flow of life coming through you, seeking its mode of expression and realization, right? It's like there's a divine will, there's a purpose behind this all. It's not just a vast and infinite being, there's a purpose, there's a will, and I am now channeling that. I am participating in that. I am manifesting that. That is the true path of joy because it's aligned with a purpose, and you are a purposeful being. You have a specific life that is fitting into all this in a very particular way. And when you live that, so you're not enslaved, you are in dialogue with. Dialogue, meaning like, oh, I'm getting that, I hear it. I'm not taking it now to myself for egotistical purposes. I am reflecting it, releasing it, expressing it, etc. Mitzvah is the most sort of refined expression of that. Hashem spoke, saying. But there are many ways that Hashem speaks, saying, not as mitzvah. And the Torah actually talks about this. It says you should do hayashar v'atov b'nei Hashem. You should do what is righteous and what is good in Hashem's perspective, right? And then people ask, well, gee, I thought that's what the Torah tells me to do. No, there's vast realms of life where the Torah didn't tell you, should you be a musician? Should you be a carpenter? Should you be a doctor? Or should you, I mean, like, just tell me what the mitzvah is. Nobody's gonna got a mitzvah to tell you. Most of your life needs to be looked at in a way in which you seek to connect to the divine flow and purpose, which you can gain a great deal of information about and access to by learning Torah and being aligned through Torah with life. But nobody's going to ever really be able to tell you it's precisely this. You will be able to get a certain frame, It's, Daniel, don't become an accountant. It wouldn't be good for you, for instance. Right? But a musician, a teacher, sometimes I think a dancer, a scholar. I have various modalities which fit well in terms of what I have come to know my makeup to be reflecting, right? And if I live that out in the service of the vast one who stands behind all, and I don't become like this, I remain in touch with what the first part of the Haggadah put us in touch with, that open creativity, that vastness of evolving, that innovative way of looking, et cetera, that is not trapped in the narrow straits of Egypt. I stay in touch with that. But on the other hand, I don't just keep unfolding and opening. I seek to discover the definition, which is the specific avoda. That's what's called avoda, the specific service, which is mine. Wow, that's your path to being a Ben Chori. And this is exactly what the Haggadah now introduces us to and tells us there's something called Avodah Zarah, which means, and we had a long class on this, and now coming back to the sort of the review part, we have Avodah Zarah, which is like estranged work, meaning your service is not really authentic to you. It's alienated from you. Alien gods, alien service. It's alienated it could be for many reasons. It could be that you're just, being forced into it by one outside you, right? That's the classic Pharaoh Egypt. But it could also be that someone's tricked you into thinking that this is your path, and now you're stuck in it with having been deceived. That's the world of lava. It could also be that you're just not in touch with yourself, man. You're in touch with yourself. Like you're just not in touch with yourself. So you find yourself in the service of things which, maybe your angers at your parents. And you're just like reacting to, because you're angry at your parents. So you're like doing anger music, or you're doing anger writing. Now, it seems like, oh man, this guy is like really creative, man. But that's not being creative, that's being reactive. It's the opposite of creative. You're being enslaved. And therefore your avoda is like an avoda zara. It's an estranged service. You're serving your reactivity. You're not serving your purpose, right? You get that. And this happens so many times. People end up, People end up spending their lives. Don't worry, I know who I'm talking to. It's like, people can end up spending literally spending their times wasted on avodah zarah because they never step away. I'm doing therapy for someone now. I'm like, and this guy, without going into any details, but he's really quite a successful person, and he's actually a guide to many people. And he's telling me about his visit to his parents and how angry he got. Like He's like pissed off. He's cursing. Like it's like, and it's like, I'm like, you just had that,
Yeah,
okay?
like my mom came, I was like, wait, why? Because around friends, you don't like lose your cool.
And there
I
all
was
of a
like, with
sudden,
my mom, I was like, wait, why am I acting?
why am I
so
acting like a
frustrated?
little, a
Yeah.
little spoiled brat? Exactly. Like, what the heck is going on? This is a very good way for you to check yourself, is to go visit your parents and discover how much of your life is being generated by baggage, right? And it's very that's mama's one of the best tests for it. Another test, really, another test is when someone insults you or criticizes you. This is a hard one, man. This is a hard one. Insults or criticizes you, how reactive are you? That will give you some indication of how much are you involved in your ego and how much you involved in the service of something greater than you, which is passing through you. It's not that you're gone. It's just that it's not ego. What do I mean ego? I mean the side of you which seeks to take it for its own purposes. Take a dictator, take someone like Putin, okay? This guy's got like universal life force flowing through him, man. I mean, like, he's like a superhuman. No, really, he's incredible charisma, energy, ability to like turn a whole country around. Like, I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about something else. I'm talking about a contact with something that's really big. I mean, there someone running for the president of the United States who's like that. There have been people in our history who are like that. You know, we're like these people like have something really big running through them, and then they blow it. They take it for themselves as their own personal ownership, right? Where like you're pushing, it's like it's about me, all of this. I'm setting America right and getting the elite put in their place and the common folk back. And that's a true thing, to set things back in balance. Like there's a lot that's going wrong in many societies. And someone steps into the flow of things that this needs to be taken care of. If they are in the service of that, they're great leaders. If they take that flow, that power, and they say, yeah, well, we all know who is the great guy here in the room. And it becomes a narrowed strait of selfish involvement. We're back to a more subtle form of avodah zarah. He's doing his thing, and he's doing something which creation, so to speak, is driving towards. But he's doing it for himself. He's not really in the service of that. And the rabbis actually say an incredible thing, and that is that when someone gets angry, they are doing avodah zarah. That's avodah zarah. You're like an oved avodah zarah when you get angry. What the heck? What are you talking about? I mean, like, am I bowing down to an idol? So some people say, well, you're bowing down to yourself, etc. Well, let's make that deeper. Like, this is what I said before. You can put yourself to the test if someone insults you, or like, so if you're in the service, this is, Hashem will take care of it. It's like, this is his world and his service. Okay, so the guy just, just said something insulting to me, and that's not okay. And on the level of mishpat, I really do ought to respond and say, listen, those are insulting words, and that's really an unacceptable way for you to treat me. I'm not going to allow that, okay. But if you feel yourself like, what do you think like, then you can get some kind of an indication that in a certain way you're an Oved Avodah Zarah. In the sense you're not really serving the vast giver of all creation. You're actually serving something very small called me. Okay, so like, and now you're bothering me. You know that look, you're bothering me. Who's that guy? It's like, what? What's going on around here? Okay, it's actually really really crucial delineations to make. So here's the deal, right? You could become very closed down on like, this is exactly what needs to be done. And like, I'm not letting anything that's happening get in the way of that. You could become like super sort of fundamentalist religious and like, and not like want to move at all in terms of responsiveness to what life seems to be showing you, right? Or you could be just like hanging out, in the big endless light. Or you could be aware of that endless light, but but um, but taking propriety for it for yourself. Or you could be the good guy who has an awareness and a connection to this light of being, which has become formed into becoming and has come through me in my particular space in creation to be actualized. And I'm remaining attentive to the vastness, and I'm very in touch with the specific. And that's really what the Haggadah now talks about is Hashem gave us that opportunity by doing something which is called amazingly Kervanu Hamakom Lavodato. He brought us close to his service. Now we mentioned this last time, and now I'm going to just expand upon it a little bit more. Bringing close to his service. That is like, what an amazing insight the rabbis have here. He never gives you his service like on a silver platter. Here, this is what you do. He doesn't do that. Sorry. He just doesn't do that. What he does is he brings you close to his service, meaning that it's never 100% precise because you need to be involved in your own creative world and vision because it's not like there's, we're building a Toyota car on the assembly line, and your job is to turn the bolt. You know, don't do anything but turn the bolt. Well, you would be fulfilling your service to creation by turning that bolt, kind of, but that would become a real denigration of your humanity because clearly you're a creative creature which is open to vast possibilities. And yet, it's true, I'm involved in building this Toyota, but give me a chance to come up with new ideas about it, to try out different aspects of its construction, to explore with with research and development ideas that have come to me along the way. And some of those guys on the assembly line are going to have some good ideas about how to make this thing better. It's like, you understand? That's like a metaphor for Kervanu Lamakom. So Hashem like gives us guidance. He gives us guidance. He gives us mitzvot, which are much more specific. He gives us guidance for what is yashar v'tov be'inav, that what is righteous and in rectitude and in touch. In his perspective, he gives us guidance. He tells us things like do that without telling us specifically what that is. He tells us things like kadoshim tihiyu, be sanctified, be dedicated, without telling you exactly what that is. And and a lot of life is I'm within the boundaries, I'm within the desire, I'm looking to fulfill it and be in service of it, but I'm in dialogue with God. It's like I'm going up this path, I'm trying this out. I'm gonna see, is Hashem with me? Is he not with me? Is he, can I get some indications, etc. This is just how it works, gals. Sorry, there's nobody who can get you more precise than that, in my opinion. But you can get help in sort of being in the right frame. But this is the brilliant phrase which we use here, kervanu lavodato. He brings us close. He approximates us with his avoda. He never gives it to us exactly. It's like unbelievable insight because he doesn't want us to be automatons, robots, right? Nor does he want us to just be like completely like, on disheveled. But, so this is going to be a dialogue between that openness and creativity of the first part of the Haggadah, of leaving Mitzrayim and the Mitzrayim, and the second part of Haggadah, which is we used to be Ovdei Avodah Zarah, and now Hashem has brought us close to his service. Okay? So that's what I wanted to get to. I hope I'm not repeating myself too much. I don't think so, right? So this is like, yeah, I've been walking around a lot with this lately, like, just kind of, yeah, trying to be awake to that sort of interaction. And, I encourage you. It's like, I know that it's not a precise instruction. It's a direction. It's a path. It's a path. And really being on the path is anything anyone could ask for. You know what I mean? It's like at the very beginning of creation when humanity is expelled from the Garden of Eden. So Hashem created something which is called a path. The first time the path appears is after we're sent out of Gan Eden, and then it says that that at the eastern side, right, of the garden, right, it says, "Vayigaresh et ha'adam vayashken mikedem legan Eden, et hakruvim ve'lat ha'cherev ha'mitapechet lishmor et derech eitz ha'chaim." That there, when Hashem expelled humanity from the garden, he put there the kruvim and the spinning swords, right? The spinning swords that guard the path of the tree of life. What? I didn't know there's a path of the tree of life. I just thought there's a tree of life in the middle of the garden. Gee, there's a path to the tree of life? That's a new idea. That's a very interesting idea. You know what I mean? Like in the Garden of Eden, Hashem just puts man in the Garden of Eden, right? Man, capital M, or humanity in the Garden of Eden, and and there it says that Hashem, blossomed all these trees in the garden, and there's the Eitz HaChaim b'toch hagan, Eitz Hadat Tov Hara, and there's the tree of life in the middle, apparently, of the garden, and the tree of judgments, right, or judgment, or differentiation, or however is best to translate it. Okay, but this is very cool. It doesn't say that there's like a path to it. I mean, it's just there. Also, there's a path. It's a really important idea because a path means you're in motion. There's an evolution going on and unfolding towards somewhere, right? And here's the great thing. The path has borders. It's not just an open field. There's a path. There's such a thing as going off the path. It can be on the path or off the path. Okay. But within that path, there are like various ways apparently that you can turn and go. And that's literally what it says, that they have these swords that are the lahat hacherev hamitapechet, that they are like a, literally it means swords with blades that are flipping over. Figuratively, it also means they're like flaming swords, but they are mitapechet. They're turning around, turning upside down. Hitapech means the opposite, the opposite, the opposite, the opposite. Yeah, you know what? I think that's a really good description of life. It's like, you know what I mean? It's unbelievable. And if you read the verse a certain way, what it says is that these kruvim are actually guarding in the sense of cherishing. Lishmor also means to cherish something, to guard it, to take care of it, right? The path to the tree of life with these swords and flames that are constantly sort of turning everything up and down. Well, that that could actually perhaps give us a good attitude towards the things that happen to us in life. It's always being churned up because it's not about just walking on the straight path. It's about learning how to find your way back. It's about discovering who you are because you just faced the opposite of where you thought you were going. It's because the things that you thought would be in support of you turned out to be desperately against you. I mean, there's like, how many things have been mitapech in your life? You know what I mean? Like, who, like, you're welcome to start listing them. It's like, exactly. I can see, I can pick out the people in the room. It's like, no, it's like, we're all like that, some of us are more in it, in it or bothered by it or whatever, but like all of us have had our lives turned around. That's literally what it means. Your life is turned around. So am I still going in the right direction? You're on the path.
Is there a way to make it easier?
Well, apparently the Torah says that the Kruvim are in charge of keeping things this way, right? But that's okay. It really is okay. I want to tell you, really, it is okay if you stay in touch and aligned with that central column of I am here in the service of Hashem's creation. I am here in the service of His will. And so if things flip around, I mean, I can still be in service of His will in this situation. Flipped around, I can be in the service of His will in that situation. It just doesn't turn out to be going exactly the way I thought it would. That's all.
I find myself like wanting to control it, or to even dive in to like change it.
Yeah.
Like if someone's not answering, like we have to pray and then believe it, and then people answer. Then they still don't. So I feel like I'm like, it's not surrender, but what's the balance between asking Hashem for something and believing it can happen for you and letting go?
Okay, these are questions that are sort of beyond our subject right now, but I'm definitely opening them up,
Right.
But like anyway, I'm a Kervanu Lavodato person, so I can only give you approximations. but the approximation is, first of all, you really have to feel when you just become a rebel against life, and when you're actually still seeking what it is the path Hashem is showing you. And you kind of just have to be in touch and ask yourself that question and listen, And you will get guidance if you are willing to sort of quiet yourself and really pay attention, okay? But it's very difficult, to know when you're facing obstacles that you're meant to overcome or you're facing obstacles which are meant to signal you go a different path. It's very difficult to make that delineation. It really is, and I don't think anyone could give a pat answer to that. And I think prayer is a great thing. And to pray for it to go a certain way is a perfectly good, perfectly wonderful thing. Sometimes you will feel in your prayer, it's like coming out, flowing, and sometimes you'll feel, I think I'm just kind of pushing here. And those are also ways we get messages. In fact, the Talmud tells us about a great tzaddik called Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa, who would know whether his prayers are being answered or not by how he prayed them. If he felt like they were just flowing out of his mouth, he would say, I'm praying for this person to live, and it's flowing out of my mouth. He's going to live. It's a very interesting thing. I mean, but it means he's aligned. Wait, but I'm praying. I thought I'm sort of praying against God. He doesn't want this person to live, and I'm praying that he should live. No. Your praying has to do with some kind of an aligning and bringing down into manifestation something which Hashem actually does want to bring, but only brings things into this world by virtue of an interaction between us and him. Kind of like he only brings children into the world by virtue of an interaction. That's the nature of this world, all the way up to our interaction with him. Why can't children just be born like that? Why does that as like such a thing? You know what I mean? They have to be attracted and want each other. And when you're a human being, it's even more complicated. It's like and feel like this person is going to be really there, and just press a button, man. Like just press a button. Okay? So it's the same thing also with Hashem, and in every aspect of our lives. There's an interaction going. That's also part of the nature of derech. Actually, I mean, so to speak, excuse the expression, but the rabbis say at the beginning of Masechet Kiddushin, which is the tractate about marriage, derech is a code word for intercourse. As it says in Mishlei, four things were amazing to me. The derech of eagle in the heavens, the derech of a snake on the rock, the derech of a ship in the ocean, and the derech of a young man and a young lady. Meaning it's uncharted course, leaves nothing behind, and it's unpredictable. And okay, there we go. Okay, so anyhow, this is all to give us like a sense of how we, you know, guide ourselves and what derech is, and what it means to be kervanu lavodato, which is elemental in my opinion, to your avodas Hashem not also becoming a slavery. Hashem doesn't just give you the avoda, he approximates the avoda. He gives you a broad picture of what it means to serve him. Okay, you understand this? Then you are truly cherut, in freedom, right? But it's in service. That's what I meant when I started by saying people think to be in service is to be enslaved. No, to be in service is to be in touch with the vastness of the drives of creation and to live them out. That's like, and when you are that way, you become much less needy and enslaved to the outside world to provide you with a feeling of worth, accomplishment, etc. Okay, so that's beginning and the end. Now, are there any things you'd like to open up and we'll talk about a little more? You know, I could go on, or we could like, you know, Mercedes, you look troubled.
Me? No.
No, you're okay. It's okay to be troubled. I mean,
I was thinking
what were
that
you thinking?
sometimes it's like, well, for me,
Hmm?
it's very easy to slip into the.
It's very what?
Very easy to just
To,
sleep.
to sleep.
Yeah,
To
or
like
to
just fall asleep, or to slip.
yeah, to
to
slip
slip.
into a place where I think that I'm in the service. I think that I'm in the service of Hashem, but I'm really not. And because right now, like I'm rectifying a lot of like my mind and how I think and how I behave. Sometimes I get very confused, but yeah, I really catch up myself feeling that I'm just serving another thing instead of Hashem.
Mhm.
But I get confused very easily,
Yeah, yeah,
and that's a little bit hard.
right. I hear you. Yeah, I hear you that you know, you slip, and that you're really wanting to do this kind of service to Hashem, and it's hard that it's not always clear to you whether you're in Hashem's service, you're just kind of serving yourself.
Yeah, and can I say something? I really relate with this class because I when I started making music, I thought it was gonna be like in service. But
So
yeah, but it really changed. Like through my journey, I caught myself making angry music, and I just think, yeah. So I got like really out of the path.
out of the path of being in the service, what were you thinking you would be in the service of at the beginning?
I really wanted to make art to express like deep things and speak up for like to talk about things that maybe it's not that open to talk about in music. But I was really transformed by the idea. So I missed my path and I started making angry music.
That's so interesting because it's in a way it kind of embodies a little of what we're talking about. Like you start with the big, and really you have the flow and the creative energies, and then it's like it becomes your story and my angers and my etc. Yeah, it's just like it's very tricky. It's very tricky. Yeah, and yeah, just okay,
Yeah,
just
and
staying awake. Yeah.
because I remember just the first time that I went to. I don't know if it's okay. I just talk about it a little bit.
I don't know.
Just very, but the first time
Just-
that I listened to your music, I remember that day I realized that I was serving another thing like completely different. That it was not a sham. So I knew I was very enslaved by it,
Mm.
and that opened a path for me,
Mm.
and I'm that path learning.
Wow. All right. I guess I was having a good day.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. Say it. Okay, I hear you. I hear. Thank you for
I
sharing.
think that's what it means to over there is that you're going towards a goal. And over there means that you've gone off, because like where you going, when you go, because like someone's going in nature, making reports, not that. But what I think it could mean like is that you're going towards a goal, and so if you go off, go away from the goal.
Yeah.
So the whole point of being on the path, the service, as you say, is that it should have a purpose. The music should have purpose. So the purpose wasn't being reached, and what is the purpose that you found in your music?
Right. Right. I hear
Which is
you.
something more than
I hear you. I think. Yeah. I kind of look at it in both directions. Goal can be sometimes a bit too sort of delimited.
Yeah.
So what I talk about instead of goal is a drive. I personally like that better, drive, and actually it has the same two first letters as derech, drive. You're driving on a derech. It's like, but it's just, a sound. But here's, it's like why that's different for me is because I'm aligning myself with a drive and looking to be aligned with this force that Hashem is sending for this or that to be realized in the world. And I'm looking for my particular place in it. Once I become like sort of more goal oriented, this may just be my own personality. I'm not saying it's the right or wrong way to look at it, but once I become more goal oriented, so then I lose touch with, the dynamics of like, well, maybe it's not exactly that goal. Maybe it's like this. Yeah.
What
Uh,
drives you in your music?
what my
I didn't know you made music.
okay, finding out a lot of things about me. What does drive me in that? I just love being in the creative expression. One hand, which is Hashem's flow. He's the creator, capital C, and I'm a little creator. One thing. But the other thing is, it would not really just be, it would never be real for me were it not that somehow inspiring people, bringing them higher, getting them more aligned and in touch with the nature of their higher self. Like, I don't just sit around, hang, and play music. Like it's very tied into impact, for better or for worse, but it's very tied into impact. So, and having that impact. It's not so interesting to me when I play and people are like dancing and really happy. That doesn't do it for me. Some musicians it does, I mean, that's their place. My place isn't that. My place in my music is somewhat similar to my place in my teaching. I seek to inspire, to touch hearts, to change people, to awaken them, and to get them, on this derech Eitz HaChaim. And this is something which is a magnificent play in the Torah. It's not the derech el Eitz HaChaim. Apropos the question of goal, you know what I mean? It's not, it's the path to the tree of life. It's the path of the tree of life. That's different. It's not lishmor haderech el Eitz HaChaim. The path is not going to the Eitz HaChaim. The path itself, when it's lived rightly, is the Eitz HaChaim. Literally, that's what the verse says. Yeah. Okay.
So it's not so much about where we're going, but
What you're being driven by, and that's these are my definitions. I'm not the oracle, but it's definitely my understanding of Torah. That definitely is my understanding. So, it's not to say there are people who have a different understanding or are wrong, but this is definitely my understanding. So you're learning with a teacher with a very particular makeup. And I believe that there's reason that you're in the room listening to me. You know, it's not like that many people listen to me. So it's like apparently there's some special souls that it's right for. But anyhow, I hope it speaks to you and that it is positive for you in terms of giving you direction and feeling like, wow, that like, yeah, that's going to help me clean myself. That's going to help me purify myself. That's going to help me live life more fully. Then I'm happy, you know. And that'll be whether playing or whether talking. That's my derech HaChaim. Okay, wonderful. Well, you know, for me this is enough. And anyway, there's only officially there's another 5 minutes, I think. So, but yeah, yeah. So this is where we are, and we're kind of backtracking a little bit because this is the way I am. You know, it's not like I said everything I have to say about it. I say it, and then new things come. So we might actually talk about this again next time. Okay, all the best. Shalom, shalom.
Thank you.
Yeah.